Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast, energized by Celsius. It is a Wednesday show right in the middle of the week, and for the first time in this year's training camp, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers took it inside. They took it indoors. They want to chill off, cool out a little bit, or chill out and cool off. Same thing, same difference. So we saw a lot of veterans off in today's show or in today's practice. So because of that, guys like Kyle Trask got more opportunities. Some guys ran with that baton. Other guys, not so much. And it was a bit of a rough day for Kyle Trask, the maybe future quarterback of the Buccaneers in seasons from now. We'll get into all of that. I'm your host, Matt Matera from PewterReport.com. Joined with me, two other colleagues of mine from PewterReport.com, the face that runs the place, Scott Reynolds, and the go-to graphics, Casey Hudson.
Hey, yo.
How we doing, everyone?
Better than Kyle Trask. That's a fact.
Coming out the gates hot with the
I was going to say insults, but yeah.
I can't even say slander because that's
I mean, it was just two interceptions and then back-to-back interceptions and then two passes that should have been picked off. I mean, it was a rough day for Kyle Trask. It really was. It wasn't like Panic at the Disco. It was like Panic in the Indoor is really what it was. Now, the coaches panicking? No. Should Buccaneer fans panic? No. This is a learning curve for him. He did get a lot of reps today. So I think that it's not what you wanted to see, right? You wanted to see – well, you want to see more Casey. There she is. But you want to see more good plays than bad plays from Kyle Trask. It wasn't like what we're seeing on Twitter with the likes of Trey Lance and Justin Fields and even Carson Wentz throwing interceptions galore. It wasn't a great day for him. And this was a day, Matt, as you said, and Casey, where he got more reps than he might have in any practice so far. And he needs those reps. He did make some good throws, but you can't kill the team with the interceptions. You can't turn the ball over. I mean, you can throw for 5,000 yards. You can set a franchise record with 33 touchdowns. But when you throw 30 interceptions, and I'm talking about Jameis Winston here. So it doesn't matter what you do in terms of yards and touchdowns. You can't turn the ball over and kill the team. And that's what Kyle Trask has got to understand. Is you can be a playmaker, but you can't help the grave diggers out on the other side of the ball.
No, I mean, you're making, Jamel Dean and Troy Warner household names now. Obviously, a lot of people know Jamel Dean and don't make a scene when he makes a play. Let's set the table, though, a little bit, just so everyone's aware. So, like I said before, a lot of vets got veteran days off today. Tom Brady did. Happy birthday, Tom Brady.
Happy birthday, Tom.
Might not be in the best mood because you're in the news for all different stuff, but, he tried to clear his head today. Wasn't even like at the indoor facility. I didn't see him out there at all, but Tom
he never
Brady
really shows up on vet day.
Yeah, Tom didn't practice. Mike Evans didn't practice. Neither did Julio Jones, Levante David did not practice on the defensive side. Cam Brate, we spoke to him in a press conference after, but he did not. He did not practice today. There were three others that did not practice, but they also were unavailable the day before. That was running back Giovanni Bernard, wide receiver Rashad Perryman, and linebacker Jojo O. We'll just call him because it's kind of tough to pronounce his last name.
Give it a try, Matt. Say
Ozawugu?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Jojo Ozawugu. And they did not practice the day before, so it's one of those, like for Gio, it's like, did they just give him an extra day of rest, or is he actually, is there actually something really bothering him? Same with Perryman.
Casey, we've seen plenty of Giovanni Bernard, as Stephen Shea would say. Giovanni Bernard! We've seen a lot of him, right? I mean, probably more than we expected to see. So maybe he does need a couple of veteran days off, or maybe he tweaks something a little bit. We'll find out. But I mean, I've probably seen more Giovanni Bernard since camp started than maybe we even saw last year.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting to see him in as much. I want to say Saturday is where I probably saw the most of him, and then kind of carried into Monday when pads whipped out. So I don't know what the status was for his offseason, if he really healed up on all the things. He had the chest and arm and all these little things going on. So it could just be a precautionary thing. He did well Saturday. He did well Monday, Tuesday, and now he's just chilling.
Yeah.
Wait, today's Wednesday. He did well Monday. Sorry. The days of the week right now are not it.
Yeah. I have no idea what day it is. I just don't.
Thursday for weeks.
Yeah. It feels like Thursday, but it's Wednesday. You know,
that's, they all run together, and the Bucks may not have needed Gio Bernard out at practice today, but like one thing I really need, especially getting up early and working all day, is a Celsius energy drink, which of course Celsius, and we're matching today. Casey had an Arctic Vibe earlier, and that inspired me to have the Arctic Vibe today. I said, when I grow up, I want to be like Casey Hudson, and the only way I can do that is by drinking the Arctic Vibe. Of course, the Pewter Report podcast is energized by Celsius, and you see the vibes there. You got the Arctic, tropical, peach vibe, but they got more flavors too. You got the classic orange, the strawberry, kiwi, guava, lemonade. They got peach mango, like all these different flavors. The variety of Celsius is fantastic. 7 essential vitamins, and it gives you that energy to get through your day. Whether you're going to crush a workout, whether you got a long work day, a long drive, a long flight, it's perfect to have Celsius to get you through all of that. Make sure you click on Celsius.com. Check out their store locator where you could find a Celsius near you. And it's all over the place now, so you don't have to go very far. And you could also buy them in bulk on Amazon. Go to Amazon.com. You could set up whether you get them every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, however quick or long you want to get your Celsius energy drinks. You can get them right away at Amazon. So shout out Celsius.
Like a slushie?
It does. It absolutely tastes like a slushie. That's how Casey was selling it to me, and I was like, Andy Bernard thought about it. I'm in, and so I went with the Arctic today, and it is not disappointing.
No, it's good.
Very happy with this.
7-Eleven would be proud.
Yeah.
Yes, it would be.
So here's the thing. I think with Trask, and we talked about this, and it's worth noting that having Blaine Gabbert on this team is beneficial for a couple of reasons. Number one, he knows this offense inside and out. This is year 5 for Blaine Gabbert. And I think that if you had to get out of a game, you probably want to turn to Blaine Gabbert. The second reason is he's the most handsome quarterback in the room, Tom Brady being number 2, of course. But I think the other thing is Blaine is the measuring stick, right? Yeah. Kyle Trask needs to beat out Blaine Gabbert, or at least get to that level. Make it tough for the coaches to sit there and say, okay, we're going to go with Kyle Trask as our backup quarterback, and really give him the opportunity to go out there and be Tom Brady's backup and get some of these reps. Maybe you put him into a game, see how he does. Closing out a game, we saw Blaine Gabbert throw a couple touchdown passes when the Bucks ramped up their lead in the first half against the Detroit Lions back in 2020. But I don't think he's there yet. This is a big preseason, and actually starts next week, I think, with the Dolphins joint practices, guys. Mm-hmm. Kyle Trask he's got to get these interceptions out of his system. He's got to start making some plays. And it wasn't just the interceptions today, guys. It was also they were doing some 2-minute drill workout in the indoor facility, and there were a couple of 4th down opportunities where he couldn't move the chains and keep that late drive going. They created scenarios where the Buccaneers are down and need a touchdown, or they're down by 2 points, need a field goal, and we just didn't see Kyle Trask deliver in those situations aside from the interceptions.
And there's other practices where, and this kind of goes back to minicamp, where I've actually liked what Kyle Trask has done. So I'm not looking at this one practice and saying it's over for Kyle Trask, like he can't win the number 2 job.
Right.
What I will say, though, is, the interceptions are one thing. Like, the interceptions are going to happen. I don't always fault the quarterback, especially a younger one, when it's in this type of situation where you have to see what you can get away with and what you can't. For example, the first interception in the red zone, goal line, whatever you want to call it, it was over the middle. He was trying to fit it into a window, and Warner kind of jumped up and made the interception. That's going to happen sometimes. I can live with that. The next one on the next play, though, it was to the sideline. Wasn't even sure like who he was really looking for, and Jamel Dean.
He was looking for Jamel Dean.
He was looking for Jamel Dean, and that was a bad play. But he only had 2 interceptions, but he could have had 4 or 5. Zion McCollum, who we'll talk about later, Zion had a great day.
He did.
He dropped an interception though, like it should have been an interception. There was another one that went off of Olakunle Fadukausi's hands, a linebacker. Wow. Yeah, I'm bringing out all the difficult names out there. So those are a couple more dropped opportunities or bailouts for Kyle Trask. But the problem I had is, he's strong, and I do want to talk about the positives of Kyle Trask. There were a couple today. Yeah. He's very strong throwing to his right side, but outside of that, going over the middle, going to the left side, not as powerful. So he had some underthrown balls today. Like there was one play where Vincent Smith was going deep down the middle, and he had Zion McCollum by a step, but the ball was just slightly underthrown. So Zion got a nice PBU out of it. But it's like if you just get a little bit more, that's a touchdown, and that's a great play. And maybe you're not the main narrative of this podcast today.
But so speaking of Smith, though, there was another throw where he did show arm strength, and he got it. He got it pretty deep to Vincent Smith. I ended up tweeting out, and a couple people, asked about that. So you're right, Matt. He has glimpses where he looks strong, and you pointed out that that's favorably on the right side, and then left side, and other than that, it gets a little inconsistent. The nerve-wracking part when it comes to Trask and his performance, and I think what was kind of illuminated today is that imagine when you have an opponent coming against you full throttle, full contact. Even though he's become a little bit more confident and a little bit more decisive, a team that's not going to let up or play tag with you, because when these guys are going toe to toe in practice, especially indoor, they're not coming at one another. That pressure makes me kind of nervous for how he's going to manage, when it comes to preseason and stuff. So no, I'm not hating on Trask because he's a Gator. But I'm honestly saying that he had, I know, it's his college just didn't do him justice, guys. That's the problem. Yeah,
well, I mean, it shouldn't really upset you because your school, Charge On, UCF Knights, won the Gasparilla Bowl over the Gators. So
Right. Thank you for making that apparent. But so he had some moments that looked good for somebody who hasn't had much great things to say about Kyle Trask. I thought he had some good moments today. I think the disappointing part is that, Blaine Gabbert steps into that number 1 role. He steps into that 2 role. He gets a lot more reps today, and he didn't really maximize on that at all. He doesn't look ready.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that was probably the more disappointing thing is just the amount of reps he had and the amount of mistakes he made with those increased reps, right? It wasn't like he had more of a chance to shine and did. He had more of a chance to screw up, and he kind of did. Right. And let's hope that he fares better and gets some of the stuff out of the way early on. The book is not yet written on Kyle Trask. We're still on the first chapter here. And we might even be like on the prologue, really, because Trask just didn't get much playing time last year. And he's going to see the most reps in the preseason over Tom Brady and Blaine Gabbert. And I would probably hazard a guess that he is, and that's easy to say, right? Because he's the third string quarterback. But I think if you add up all of the snaps that Gabbert and Brady will play in the preseason, I think Kyle Trask will play even more than both of those combined. And I don't want to see Ryan Griffin in the preseason. I just don't.
It's funny you mentioned that, Scott, because Todd Bowles actually confirmed today that Tom Brady will not be playing at all in the first preseason game next week against the Dolphins, maybe to keep away from a tampering type of situation. I'm not exactly sure about that. But
guys, they already think that we're an anti-Brady net over here.
I know, that was ridiculous. Like, Casey, we were on the show for about 10 minutes. We were like, Brady still
I thought I was defending the guy.
Yeah, I thought we were defending him too, but I don't know. Maybe people misinterpreted. Not really going to get on everyone's case because we all interpret things differently. I do want to point out for Kyle Trask just another thing that I noticed. He's building a pretty good chemistry with Evan Tompkins, and Tompkins has been, I think, overall solid. He had one bad day where he dropped the pass and it turned into an interception. But overall, him and Tompkins are really hitting it well. They had a nice play about 30 yards down to the right side where Trask has thrived. a lot more.
Right.
Casey, as you mentioned, he had that, like, I think it was like a 40-yard play in that 2-minute drill. Down the field. I believe that was to Smith. So I like when he does push the ball more down the field, because I think we've seen with Blaine's a bit of a check on Charlie a little bit. He likes to keep everything under wraps, not really move the ball down the field as much. He was a little bit more. Maybe it's because he was the number one guy, but I really enjoy watching in those 2-minute drills going on. He really connected well with Scotty Miller. Tyler Johnson, again, had like a very solid day.
Both those guys looked really good.
But I think one of the wide receivers that I think was most impressive, probably because not necessarily the plays that he made, but the person that he beat to make those plays. Yeah. And that was Jaelon Darden. Put in context, the 2-minute drills, there wasn't really a lot of pass rushing going on. So it wasn't like Blaine had Vita Vea in his face and things like that.
Yeah.
But Jaelon Darden beat Carlton Davis twice. And one of them was like over the middle, 20 yards down the field. And, we're extremely complimentary of Jaelon Darden. Of Carlton Davis. Oh. I know. Yeah. I was going to say, we're not always complimentary of Jaelon Darden. We're very complimentary, at least I am, of Carlton Davis. I think he's up there as, he's clearly number one on this team and is close to being an elite cornerback. So anytime a second-year receiver like Jaelon Darden can beat Carlton Davis multiple times, I mean, that's a huge check in the box for him.
Yeah, I agree. And Casey, when you look at the receivers we talked about today, right, there's 4 at the top of the depth chart. Obviously, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Julio Jones. Those 3 players didn't practice today. And if you're taking a veteran day, right, and obviously Godwin hasn't practiced yet, but if you were taking a veteran day, like, you don't want to do it during the indoor day. You want to do it during like an outdoor day, like really make it count, But anyways, those guys were out. The only receiver out of the top 4 who was participating was Russell Gage. He was the clear number 1 guy, and he caught some good passes from Gabbert. But those 4 guys are locked in. You've got 2 or 3 roster spots. If they keep 7 receivers, one of those would have to be a return specialist, either Darden or Tompkins. But I mean, when you look at Darden and you look at Tyler Johnson and Scotty Miller, those are the 3 holdover guys. And then I would agree with Matt. I think Tompkins is really flashed as well. So that's 4 guys right there that ever since Julio Jones got to Tampa, they, outside of maybe that first day where they kind of get shook up a little bit maybe, but now it's like they're locked in and they know that this is going to be a dogfight for those remaining spots.
Absolutely. I mean, we can't really harp on this enough that the competition is excruciating in that position group. And initially when camp started, it was like you could see that pressure was getting to some of these guys. And then when the pads came on, it's like everyone really just leveled up. You guys know I have no problem admitting when I'm wrong. And Tyler Johnson has been surprisingly good this camp. And he has people rooting for him. He has people that matter pulling for him. So that kind of puts things in that puts things in a perspective that there's certain people that are going to have more of an opportunity here than I anticipated. So, you've got Tyler Johnson. Scotty Miller has been performing very well in pads, and that's kind of where it counts. I know people think he's a one-trick pony or he's only got, straight ahead speed and stuff, but he is starting to show that he can be a little bit more than just a one-trick pony. Not that he's doing too much more, but the effort is there. And then you've got, Devin Tompkins and Jaelon Darden. I'm not the biggest Jaelon Darden fan, but he had a good camp last year. He's having another good camp right now. For me, it's just when it gets to game speed, it changes for a lot of guys. NFL pace is way different than going up against your own team. So for me, I have to see if it translates for Darden before I really give any credit. His first step off the line, brilliant. He does well with speed. We know he's a quick guy. It just comes down to how does he pan out when it comes to being one-on-one with the opposing team.
Right.
So the next week is going to be huge because we have the joint practice. It's not going to be, you going against your teammates. Today was kind of a hard evaluation for me because I just feel like some plays were kind of like tag. It felt like a recess session. It was light. It was fun. there's not as much pressure, Matt, as you mentioned. There wasn't much pass rushing going on, so you don't have these guys in your face.
Right.
So,
and just to be clear, in the 2-minute drill, that's by design. Ever since Ryan Jensen got hurt, when they go to 2-minute drill and hurry up, it's a given that there will be a pass rush. It's also a given that you're throwing the ball every down, so you're going to be in pass protection mode. So they just kind of eliminate that scenario. They snap the ball. The defensive line stands up. The offensive line stands up. It's really about the quarterback finding the open receiver and then the linebacker and then the secondary covering those guys.
Yeah, exactly. So with that being said, now that they know what to anticipate and how that goes about, it's going to be a game changer next week when they're going against the Dolphins and heading into that first preseason game. And it's tough because somebody asked me on Twitter, what's going to happen with Vincent Smith, because he's been doing well in camp. Everyone's just been doing quite well. Yeah. It's just going to come down to what plays they can really see them in and how they're going to how many reps they can actually be consistent with.
Yeah. Well, and for a guy like Breshad Perriman, who missed practice again today, you better get well quick, because this train's leaving the station and either you're on board or you're not. And that's no disrespect to Breshad Perriman, who started off camp like gangbusters, a great bomb from Tom Brady, but you can't make the club in the tub, as they say. So the onus is on him to really get well soon. You're laughing. You haven't heard that? That's like an old expression. Back in the day, we had these ice tubs. Now they got the cryogenic units, But seriously, like that was an expression back then.
Well, it kind of sucks because people know that, like, not that I'm a fan of Breshad Perriman, but I root for him.
Charge
He's
on.
F alumni, Charge on.
Yeah.
But that's disappointing. I mean, I know it's out of his control, but to start off camp with this little injury, standing on the sideline, like, there's things that we need to see out of him immediately.
Yeah.
I.e. that he can catch the ball consistently and not just bank on his speed. And he's weeding himself out of a highly competitive group. So that sucks. He's charging out rather than charging on.
Well said, Casey. I like it. Brando, I don't really hate Trask. I don't at all. I'm just being objective. I'm just pointing out. Listen, he comes out and throws 4 touchdowns in the next practice and no interceptions. It's a whole new graphic and it's a whole new ball game in terms of our narrative.
Kyle Trask was great in yesterday's practice. The only issue for Kyle Trask was Tom Brady was still practicing, and a lot of the veterans that were out today were practicing yesterday. So there was a couple of different storylines.
Right.
If Kyle Trask did what he did yesterday, if he performed like that in today's practice, our headline would be Kyle Trask was awesome and was throwing the ball everywhere, and everyone got a touchdown. He was giving out touchdowns like Oprah,
That's right. So, I don't want Kyle Trask to fail. I really don't. I mean, if you go back in time and you look, Pewter Report accurately named him not just a Bucks best bet at the quarterback position. We actually had him in our mock draft as the 2nd-round pick. We had Joe Tryon-Shoyinka at number 1 and Kyle Trask number 2. We're the only media outlet, national or local, that had Tryon-Shoyinka and Trask 1 and 2 in any mock draft. And so what does that mean? It doesn't really mean anything, but what I'm saying is I'm not anti-Trask. I put him to the Buccaneers. He was a player that this team really liked. And you go back and you look, and we had somebody here in the chat rattled off his Florida statistics, right? He led the SEC in passing, over 40 touchdowns, I think 8 interceptions, over 4,000 yards. He was a prolific passer at Florida. And so the argument might be, well, look what he did. He had Kyle Pitts and he had Kadarius Toney and Van Jefferson. Okay, that's fine. But
here he is, Mike Evans and Chris Conlon.
Exactly. Yeah. So what you're saying is he proved with a bunch of talent around him, he could sling the hell out of the ball, put up touchdowns and yards. And that's why they got him, because they're like, okay, well, you had a star-studded cast at Florida with the Gators. We have a star-studded cast here in Tampa with the Buccaneers. And so we want you to do here what you did there. Oh, and by the way, you're built like Brad Johnson, a pocket passer type. And Brad Johnson won a Super Bowl here. We like pocket passers in Tampa because of the offensive line. He just checked so many boxes. It's just that he was redshirted so much last year to his detriment that now that's a bit of a full court press, because I think most believe that Tom Brady's final year in Tampa is this season. And then Todd Bowles started how many quarterbacks, Matt? 5 different quarterbacks in 4 years with the Jets.
I tried to black it out of my mind.
I think Todd found out that's not a recipe for success, right? Didn't that get him fired up there? Yes, it did. So he is really curious, and rightfully so. He wants to know who the quarterback's going to be after Tom Brady. He would love for it to be a guy in-house. I don't know that he's as keen on Blaine Gabbert as Bruce Arians was, right? And so Bruce is not the head coach anymore. Now it's Todd's show, and if he doesn't have the affections for Blaine Gabbert outside of him rocking an awesome mullet, then I don't know that Blaine's an option. So that leaves Trask as an option for 2023. But is he an option for the number 2 job, or is he a legitimate option for being a potential starter post Brady? That's what they want to find out in this month of August. It wasn't the best opportunity today for Trask, but camp isn't over, as Casey mentioned and you mentioned. 2 joint practices and 3 preseason games left.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. The book is not closed on Kyle Trask, but they do have to find out by the end of the 3rd preseason game and by the first week of September whether, because again, the focus will change and Trask will be on the back burner. They do have to find out though by that first week of September. Looking into 2023, are they going to roll with Trask, or are they going to have to start, sending scouts out to certain college football games, looking at these certain quarterbacks so they could take one early in next year's round? Sure, there could be another situation like Matt Ryan or Russell Wilson or stuff like that, but you can't bank on that type of opportunity to happen again. It's really going to be either Kyle Trask is the guy, or you're drafting your future quarterback next season. And, they have a whole month and a half to get that going. And, we'll see what they could do there. Scott, I see you laughing at something.
Well, I'm just saying, it's so funny how any slight, any dose of constructive criticism, which is our job, by the way, we're supposed to be critical. And that means looking at a thing with a critical eye, positively and negatively. But
I'll take it. It's fine.
I think the term hater is just so overused now. It's losing its punch. It's like if you have one bit of criticism, like I can sit there and say, Tom Brady didn't look great the other day in practice. Oh, you're hating Brady. How can you hate the GOAT? It's like, oh, dude, it's just not. I mean, just stop.
It's so extreme. One thing I will say or add to the Trask thing before we close it out is that I don't know if it doesn't really come off as a great sign to me that as many press conferences as we've now had with Todd Bowles for training camp, and whenever he's asked about Kyle Trask, it's been the same thing. Well, his confidence has grown a little bit. His confidence has grown a little bit because I started to go through a few other press conferences for rookie and sophomore quarterbacks, and the head coach usually has a little bit more detail in terms of specific areas that they have actually started to grow. In a couple of ways, I've mentioned the fact that, I think his technique is still kind of lagging. If he's going to step into a 2 role or a 1 role eventually, I thought he'd be a little further along, but there's no specifics there other than, his confidence is growing a little bit. Well, once his confidence gets there, arm strength, the technique behind it, how is all of that coming about? So Todd Bowles isn't really getting into much, and he's not really alluding to the fact that eventually
observation.
Right. And I noticed it after yesterday, and then I had to go look through, and other coaches were just saying a bit more, or at least specifying something that elevated. And from training camp last year to this year, I would have hoped to hear something different by now. And the only thing we're hearing is that he's a little more confident. We're not even saying extremely more confident, or he's exuding a whole brand new confidence about him, or carrying a chip on his shoulder. It's just a little more confident. So
well, he's being more decisive with the ball, Matt, and Jamel Dean and Troy Warner loved that decisiveness today.
They absolutely love that. Casey, you're going to be the head of our research department now with all the forensic files that you just found by looking at that.
And Matt, I'm going to say if Casey's going to be the head of research, I'm going to be the head of the beer drinking club on PewterReport.com. Because
we met.
Folks, if you didn't tune in the last couple of days, we've talked about this. This is Pirate Republic beer. It is not just any beer, folks. It is the official beer of Pewter Report. And we love that because we love beer. We've been trying to find a official beer for Pewter Report, and we haven't had the right fit until now, folks. It's not just the fact that we're covering a team that is a bunch of pewter pirates. No, it's the fact that Pirate Republic beer, it tastes fantastic. We're excited to announce our exclusive partnership with Pirate Republic Brewing Company. Based out of the Nassau, Bahamas, Pirate Republic is now invading Florida, and it's time for football season, so it's perfect timing. Beer brings people together to celebrate life. The Long John Pilsner is perfect for tailgating or having fun at the beach in the Florida sun. Take No Quarter, that's the green can, is the best IPA you'll drink. And I'm not an IPA fan, folks. I really am not. But I've already had a couple of these, and it's changing my mind. It's that good for an IPA. Drop an orange slice in the golden haze of piracy, Belgian wit beer, and enjoy the pirate life. I want to focus just for a quick second here on the Pilsner. This is Pirate Republic's lightest beer, crisp and refreshing. It relies on Czech Shaz hops for its spicy aroma, while toasted Munich malt brings the depth. Pirate Republic beer is available at participating retailers like Total Wine and More, Lucan's Liquors, Party Liquors, and select ABC stores in the greater Tampa Bay area, and is expanding across the state of Florida. Live life on your terms and drink like a pirate with Pirate Republic beer. I think I will.
It's the perfect combo with Pirate Republic and, you know, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the team that we cover. It's just sometimes you can't write a better story, and we are writers. So
that's right.
It does actually taste good though. We were doing the golden one yesterday.
Yeah, we had the gold on. I had the gold. Had the Long John Pilsner as well. So
yes, you can get it at ABC.
Shout out to everyone in the comments too that was like beer. Definitely appreciate that. But as we turn our attention back to the Bucs, I want to talk about the defense a little bit. We talked about how there wasn't much of a pass rush going on, but we do know that Todd Bowles loves to send the blitz, and I think it caught the offense off guard a lot, because when the Bucs did send the blitz, it felt like they got home almost like every single time. I know Grant Stewart had a blitz sack on Kyle Trask. Shaq Barrett went in untouched, which, you know, usually is the case where they're preparing for the blitz and, you forgot about Shaq Barrett, the team's best pass rusher. D. Delaney got in there, one of those would-be type of sack situations. Cam Gill defeated Ko Kieft, which everyone was freaking out because Ko Kieft had a good rep on Joe Tryon-Shoyinka the other day. Now Cam Gill, the thrill, who's fighting to get the fourth outside linebacker, he beat Ko Kieft. So again, every snap is different, and every snap, like, someone's going to win and someone's going to lose. But I thought the Bucs on defense were very calculated with their blitzes today, and a lot of them really got home when they were dialed up. So I'm excited to see. And you know, this season,
I agree. And Casey, it's interesting because rarely do they stop the play right when somebody gets the sack, right? And there's practice etiquette. So what we're talking about is the quarterbacks don't get hit, but if you've got a linebacker just screaming at the A gap and he gets unblocked, practice etiquette, he will veer off. I've been talking to Todd Bowles about this. They don't want anybody near the quarterback, because sometimes when you have that follow through with the hand, you don't want to
hit the helmet,
break the pinky on helmet. So they, they'll veer off like that. But when you get to those 2-minute drills, it's a situation where Grant Stewart got in there so fast, they literally blew the whistle. All right. And stopped the play and just said, nope, that's a sack. We're not letting this play continue. And it's funny sometimes because Matt and Casey, how many times have we seen at practice? There'll be a situation where a quarterback will like get sacked, but continue on with the play. Yeah. And it's like 5 seconds later, right?
Deep ball.
Jalen Darden or Scotty Miller, whoever, they're catching a deep ball, and the fans like, oh my God, what a touchdown. Like, nah, it's really a sack. You know?
Well, Matt and I were talking about that yesterday because I was trying to tweet stuff out, and we were looking at it, and at the end of the day, that would have been a sack. So it was trying to find the verbiage of it. And I know fans on Twitter don't love when you're typing and you're like, almost. I get it, guys. But because of the way that the plays stop, it's like, well, what would have happened is that there would have been a sack here. So that's what I mean by next week is going to be way better, just to be able to see a little more contact so we can evaluate how much they're really getting in there. But even today with the indoor practice, I mean, I even think Joe Tryon Shoyinka. I have to slow down when I say his name because then I'll be speaking Spanish. But his footwork and his engagement, it's true. I'll be like, his footwork and his hand placement and just like his ability to move so fluid at his size. That was something that was interesting to see. It was, in a way, things were kind of, I had the ability to slow it down and pay closer attention to more of the skill set or how the players were moving. Mm-hmm. Grant Stewart, I know that he's competing to not only be a special teams guy. He wants to expand beyond being only a special teams guy, and he looked good today. Not that he hasn't looked good at all during camp, but I mean, he had moments. He had his burst, and I would have liked to see that outside to see how it may have played out a little bit more. But I thought he looked pretty good.
To be fair, he did. He did, but in context, it was against third string players too. And so I think, and that's what happens sometimes. Right. And I've seen, this is preseason 28 for me. It's my 27th year covering the team, but I've thrown an extra training camp back in 1994. And, you get some of those guys that will like light it up in the preseason. Like for example, Shaq Barrett's not going to lead this team in sacks in the preseason. He's just not.
Yeah.
And neither probably with Joe Tryon Shoyinka as well.
Probably like Elijah Ponder.
Correct. Yeah, it's going to be someone like that. And they're like, can't believe he had 3 sacks in the preseason. Didn't even make the team, right? Grant Stewart's making this team. He's a special teams demon. But I'm just saying that I don't know that he is – I don't think he's going to see time on defense in the starting lineup. I just don't. I don't see the range, the size – the athleticism that he has, but yeah, in the preseason, he's going to make some plays. He's a splashy guy. And I think all that's going to do is reinforce the coaches to say, this guy is really a Pro Bowl caliber special teams player.
Yeah. And I think he could be like the number one guy on this team, but I think that shows why, going back to minicamp and things like that, it was KJ Britt that they were essentially grooming to be the third inside linebacker to play with Devin White if Levante isn't available. Thankfully, Levante, has been here for training camp and has been looking pretty good. Casey, you mentioned Joe Tryon Shoyinka a minute ago, and I think he stood out early on in the running sessions. Yeah. The Bucs are running a couple of end arounds, and he snuffed it out like right away. Like didn't even let them turn it up the field. Devin White in the opposite direction, the next play also right there. So good to see this team just moving sideline to sideline. That was something last year, as good as they are at stopping the run, teams started to, move it outside just a little bit more. And again, that's why Sue isn't here. That's why you have someone quicker with Hicks and, of course, Logan Hall. That's the main reason that they drafted him for, just his overall quick footwork going after the passer or going sideline to sideline. So, I like that so far. The Bucs are always going to have a good run defense, but even the minor, very minute weaknesses that they have, they've already looking like that they're correcting it right away. And maybe one practice in shorts and shoulder pads isn't going to prove, when they play against Dallas in September. But I really think, across the board, I'm so optimistic about the defense this year. If they're healthy, if they're getting after the quarterback, there hasn't been a ton. Well, today they took advantage of the Kyle Trask mistakes, but they still dropped a couple of more interceptions. Yeah. They still need to clean that up a lot. But outside of that, I'm really excited about how Tampa can play defense this year because I really think the sky's the limit for this group. I'm giddy thinking about what they can do.
Well, yeah, and I think you brought up a great question today in pressers when we got Akeem Hicks asking basically how much more can they focus on their game interior wise, knowing that they have such stability and strength on the outside. And he gave 2 great answers, answering your question, basically saying that like it's going to help them inside tremendously, but also the fact that who would have guessed that Joe Tryon-Shoyinka was the like initial pitch line to bring Akeem Hicks to Tampa Bay. That was the first player that he watched film on, and that was the first name that they brought to his attention to entice him down to Tampa. So I think that also speaks volumes to the fact of what JTS is potentially going to do this season. He just has such a humble, quiet, strong demeanor to him. It's almost eerie. I mean,
yeah.
I would hate lining up against somebody who's just so quiet, but you know that they're just a freak athlete.
Right. Like you think you got it against Joe Tryon-Shoyinka because he's not like jumping around everywhere. And then you take one rep against him. You're like, oh, damn. Here's actually Akeem Hicks talking about Shaq Barrett and Joe Tryon-Shoyinka. It's 2 different videos that are quick, but we'll play them back to back.
Yeah, what helps is I actually want to add that those dynamic outside rushers like Shaq Barrett, you know, it makes our job easier, simply said. You know, it's funny, that was one of the first names my agent said to me when I was thinking about coming to Tampa. He said his name, and I was like, who's that? And then I actually turned on the tape, I watched the sideline tape. I was excited to play with him. You know, I already knew about Shaq, right? But I'm excited to play with this group of guys.
Just
like
a
you
side
watch
note.
this kid's film. No, I was just hyped. Like you watch this kid's film, and that was your excitement to come play in Tampa Bay. On top of the fact that Shaq Barrett is just an attractive teammate as well.
Tom Brady.
Yeah, I just thought it was so interesting that his agent was like, "Yeah, they got this guy Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, pretty good." Side note, you know, we've only talked to Akeem Hicks for a little bit now since he's still fairly new to the team.
Yeah,
he's a great interview.
Yeah,
he gives a lot of awesome, insightful stuff. So it was funny going for 2 again. That's what the Bucs do. Going from Cam Brate, who is the gold standard of press conferences, to Akeem Hicks, but he's very excited about just the potential of both the interior defensive line and, of course, the edge rushers. And one of the little things that we saw was Vita Vea wasn't necessarily lining up, you know, right up against the center. They had Vita Vea moving around a little bit. I don't know how much like detail we can get without getting in trouble, but it was
well, I mean, if you were to imagine that Akeem Hicks and Vita Vea weren't necessarily playing inside, but maybe playing somewhere else. And if you were to imagine, say, Elijah Ponder and rookie Andre Anthony not playing outside, but playing somewhere else, then you might be understanding what Todd Bowles is doing, getting very creative. And the one thing that I like about Todd Bowles, and I've talked to Todd about this, is he mixes and matches personnel out there. Like you rarely see, you might see for the first 3 or 4 plays, the actual first team defense when it comes to a new 11-on-11 session. And then he is mixing, matching personnel. You might have, today, Levante David was out, but you might have Devin White and KJ Britt, right? The starting inside linebackers paired with Cam Gill and Anthony Nelson, the second string, outside linebackers. And then you might have on the inside Benning Potoahi and Willington Prevalon, who is like the third string defensive tackles, right? And it's such a kind of a hodgepodge, right? And he'll mix them. You have like the starting safeties and the third string corners. And the reason behind it is it's kind of genius. It's twofold. It's how do the third string guys or how do the second string guys fare with the starters? Right? How far away are they from being that starting caliber player? And then also too, it's okay. Well, what happens if you got to play a D Delaney, right? And he's got to go in there as a third string corner, and all of a sudden he's starting because you've had such a huge amount of injuries at the cornerback position, right?
Yeah, I'm laughing at the Willington Prevalon.
His name.
I know it is.
Listen, it's not like
I don't know if that was old or British or.
Well, I mean, it's when you have a name like that, like if your name was like I'm Gary Hubbard, and you're like a football player, right? And then you got to kind of say Gary Hubbard. You can't just say Gary Hubbard, right? It's Gary Hubbard, right? Of course. But it's the same thing. It's like when you're a football player and you sound like you should be an ophthalmologist or a surgeon, right? Like Willington Prevalon, I mean, that's
Willington Prevalon should be going to the next royal wedding. I
Yes,
don't know
exactly.
when that is, but
but he's rushing the passer instead, and good for him, But
he had a sack in yesterday's practice. I remember being like, "Oh, Willington Prevalon."
No, Matt, it's Willington Prevalon with the sack.
Willington Prevalon getting to the quarterback so gracefully, more than anyone else on the defensive line.
There you go.
If he has a sack in the preseason, he's got to do something where he has the pinky out and has
I love it. I love it. Yes, drink the tea. All right, I love it.
Here's to Willington Prevalon.
Here's to Willington Prevalon.
But Scott, you're absolutely right about you got to mix and match the starters, the backups, because you never know when you're going to be in that type of situation.
That's right.
Yeah.
You saw it, as you mentioned, with the secondary last year. They literally got Richard Sherman off the street and was like, "Hey, we're going to play you in," at the time, the biggest game of the season where Tom Brady's not losing to the New England Patriots. So you better, get your stuff together and be ready to play against the New England Patriots. So,
Algie Crumpler, tight end for the Falcons. There you go.
Too bad they aren't playing in London this year.
I know.
Damn. You would almost have to call him up to the 53-man roster, just
exactly. Yeah.
His name.
Because I'm sure they do stuff where the Bucks go to Parliament and
right.
all this stuff. And just be the international ambassador.
I don't think he's British at all either. I mean,
no. Yeah.
I can see the appreciation.
That's losing the pot.
I am losing.
Mark Cook would be proud of you, Mark.
Yeah, he would.
Yep.
He would. Hey, the Bucks have to decide whether Prevalon's going to make the team or not. There's a lot of different picks that have to be made, but the best place you can go and make your picks is with Underdog Fantasy. They got the pick'em situation going on right now. You can do it for baseball, but the best time to do it is when football season gets here. And of course, you got Best Ball Mania 3 still available, but the pick'em itself, it's the easiest way to get some action on the NFL. You just pick an over and under on your favorite or least favorite player stats. You can win up to 20 times your money in a single night. You could bet over Mike Evans yards, over, tackles for Shaq Barrett, whatever you want to do. If you hate the Saints and you think Michael Thomas is going to get under 20 yards because he stinks and Carlton Davis is going to dominate him, you could bet the under on that. You don't have to do it just for football season, though. You could do it with baseball right now. Bet on one of your favorite players to get a hit. When hockey and basketball come back, of course, you can do it with, number of shots, number of points scored in basketball, whether or not a player is going to score a goal. So the over-under, so many different options there. And Underdog Fantasy keeps it super simple with their easy-to-use website and mobile apps. Pick, again, between 2 and 5 players. Fill out your pick'em slip. And get every pick right and take home some cold, hard cash. Use the promo code PEWTER and get your first deposit doubled up to $100 by Underdog Fantasy. That's promo code PEWTER. They actually got a couple other cool things going on right now. The Puppy 2, it's a tournament-style pick'em. It's $5 to enter, $75,000 for first place, $500,000 in total prizes. And if you're a golf fan like myself, they have the Pup Cup. Nice name. I like that. That closes on August 8th. You could pick a best ball tournament for the FedEx Cup. That's a very prestigious event for the PGA. And that's also $5 entry, $100,000 in total prizes. It's a 3-round tournament. So make sure you go to Underdog Fantasy. Use the promo code PEWTER. Win some cold hard cash. We all like winning money. That's that's always a lot of fun. Winning cold hard cash. So do it with Underdog Fantasy.
I could use it.
One guy that we talked about very briefly, but I think we should talk about today is Zion McCollum, because I thought it was one of his best practices out there today. We were talking recently too, how, he's still coming along. And obviously one of the big talks when he got drafted was he's going from a small school to now the NFL level. How is that going to correlate? How's that going to translate? Shout out Tony with the comment. That was pretty good.
For those of you listening to the audio podcast, would maybe crack up is Tony Saylor, a frequent contributor to the Pewter Report podcast chat. We appreciate you, Tony. He said, if my name was Algie, I'd come out of the womb swinging on my parents. Oh, I would too. Yeah, I would legally change my name as soon as I could. Like whatever age that is, like 18 or 16. As soon as you could do it, I'm going to the courthouse and just saying,
Oh my God.
not happening. You're not going to name me after some fungus. Is algae a fungus? I don't know. Sounds like a fungus.
It sounds funky.
It sounds funky.
Something green. I think it grows off of
It is.
something. I don't know. Someone in the chat, let us know what algae actually is. But Zion McCollum, Zion would be a cool name to, if you were going to change your name to go and do that. But he's got the speed, and I thought today was one of his best days. He had three pass breakups. Two of them were really good. There was the one I mentioned before where Vincent Smith was ahead of him by a step. But you know what? Make them pay if they're not going to make the perfect throw like Kyle Trask did not, and he did with the pass breakup. My favorite one was a pass more along the middle, and McCollum dove. Again, the other day, D. Delaney was like full Superman mode, diving to pass to break the pass up. Yeah. That's essentially what Zion McCollum did as well. So I just love that he's given the all-out effort, the athleticism, and I think, he might not necessarily be a contributor right away. Surely he'll help on special teams with the speed that he has.
Yes.
But give him more time to understand this playbook, understand what it's like playing at this NFL level. I'm not saying he's taken, Jamel Dean's job, but Sean Murphy-Bunting was a player that, we've seen him on the outside. He struggled earlier in practice today, losing reps to, I believe, Darden and maybe Tyler Johnson, but lost a couple in a row.
Yeah.
And Zion McCollum, I'm not saying it's a Kyle Trask redshirt type of year, but I mean, it seems like he's got all the, the skill set that you want, all the makings of a guy that could really be a formidable outside cornerback for the Bucs for years to come. I mean, that's why you draft the guy in the middle of the rounds. You hope he could develop into that with that speed and just his overall just personality of loving life, smiling everywhere. I think, he's going to be a fan favorite just from
of course
he is.
And Carlton David touched on Zion McCollum in his presser the day before yesterday and even said, don't count him out because he came from a small school. And anyone that's kind of looked into McCollum's story, he claims that he went to a smaller school to play with his brother. That wasn't, his only opportunity and offer. He could have done more. So for a guy who could have done more, now he just kind of has to translate his learning ability. And there's been glimmers of all the things that we have read about and seen in his film. And depending on how he comes up to speed when things pick up in the dual practices next week in the actual preseason games, Carlton even mentioned that, we don't be surprised if you do see him this season. SMB just kind of looks defeated. And as somebody who has given him a hard time on this podcast for a year now, I feel bad for him. I do. I mean, last week before the pads came on, I think it was day 3. You saw Carlton Davis, one of the interns got it, Adam Sylvan, shout out to Adam or Sly, caught Carlton Davis trying to kind of
Whoa, stop. I got to stop you. I just got to correct you. We don't call our nicknames by their real name. They haven't earned that yet.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, just
Sly.
Sly.
You guys did not hear anything I said before Sly.
We have Sly and Chandler Bing. Those are our 2 interns.
Oh, yeah. Chandler. Finally got to meet him. So Sly got a great video of Carlton Davis trying to kind of amp up SMB. He was dancing in front of him, doing all these things, and SMB was just so non-responsive. And those two are best friends. And typically, chatter aside, last year you would see SMB dancing. He was always hype. We have not seen SMB break one move.
It's a great observation. Yes, he's either taking this a lot more seriously this year than he did before, or he's not feeling it. It's one or the other, right? That's a great observation, Casey. So we've got a couple of different opinions. SMB will have a bounce back year. Tony D, and then Ben Leeper is SMB still starting on the outside with the ones. Dean's the far superior player when healthy. I'll say this: Sean Murphy-Bunting is still starting with the ones. I don't know, and probably not going to get the right answer in a press conference anyways. We'll try to dig it up. But I don't know if this is a situation where Sean Murphy Bunting is starting because this team just wants to give him every opportunity to see if he can handle being a starter on the outside, or if it's to send a message to Jamel Dean, like, hey, you got to step up and make some plays. I'm just not sure. I don't know how long the leash is for SMB in the starting lineup, or if that's Dean's job and they're just trying to give SMB a look, or if they want Dean to really step up and they're just kind of using that as motivation, saying, well, you're going to be with the number twos. Yeah. Two things real quick. Number one, Dean struggled with that interception, the drop pick 6 when he stepped in front of Trask earlier this week in the end zone and just completely bobbled what should have been a gimme pick 6, right? And then we saw him come up with an end zone interception today. So I think that's a sign of improvement. That's the sign of what you're looking for there. The other thing too with McCollum, and to your point, Matt, I think he really had a bounce back day because yesterday Jalen Darden was blocking him around the goal line. Yeah. Okay. And that kind of stunned me. It's like, son, you're 6'2", 199 pounds, and Jalen Darden is not.
Yeah.
Jalen Darden's about 5'7", 5'8", maybe $170. You cannot get blocked down there. You need to take him and toss him aside and make a tackle at the 1 or 2 yard line. You can't get blocked into the end zone like that. So great play for Jalen Darden, not a great play for Zion McCollum. And then what happened on the very next play? Tyler Johnson, touchdown from Blaine Gabbert. And
end of practice.
End of practice.
So good, they just stopped it.
Yeah, exactly. So today's Zion McCollum was a hell of a lot better than what we saw yesterday, and that was good to see. You want to see the arrow pointing up for these guys.
Yeah.
Every day is not going to be a steady incline. You're going to have some ups and downs, especially when you're a rookie. But it was just good to see the bounce back day from Zion McCollum, and also for Dean too.
Yeah, and I love the diving play for McCollum. That was exciting,
right?
Because
wasn't that awesome?
You want to see those people. I mean, I don't know if they still say this now, but in high school and college, it was you want the guys that play till the whistle blows. And so it's, as you said, Matt, that all out effort. And when you see a guy that wants to do that, I mean, yeah, we want to see more interceptions, but either way, we want to see passes get interrupted by this defense. And it's such a talented roster. And kind of just to touch on the SMB thing, one other thing is that coaching staff really does like Sean Murphy Bunting. So that's something that is helping him have a grace period and an opportunity to come back. It's
not an infinite grace period. That's kind of what I'm saying is what I've been hearing is
his time's running out.
Time's running out. Exactly.
Yeah.
And his teammates love him too. Like I remember we had D. Delaney on this show a couple weeks ago, and he was wearing the SMB hat.
He's a likable guy. I legitimately like Sean Murphy Bunting. He's very accountable. I like him as a person. I wish he was better. I wish that he was more consistent, had more confidence, made more plays. And I'm not the only one thinking that. We all hope for that for SMB. The coaches in the front office certainly do as well. Folks, I do want to thank Matthew for this $5 super chat.
Thank you, Matthew. You're the man. Great freaking name, Matthew. It's awesome.
That's true. That's a fact. That's a quality name you got there, Matt. And let's hit the like and get these guys to 10,000. Everyone, please. And I'm going to reiterate that. I'm going to put this little graphic up here. Subscribe to Pewter Report TV. That's our YouTube channel. Hit the like button on our videos. We are perilously close to 9,000. The goal is to get to 9,000 in the preseason. We want to do that before the start of the season. I think we're about 200 followers away. Yep. You can help by subscribing to the Pewter Report TV YouTube channel. So hit subscribe. It says subscribe. It's actually free. They need to come up with a different word than subscribe, because when you think of subscribe, it's like, well, how much is it going to cost for me? No, it's nothing, Grandpa. It's free. Hit the subscribe button and help us get to 9,000. Our goal is to get to 9,000, and then during the season, get over 10,000. We're so close. Thank you to all the Pewter people who have subscribed for free. And if you haven't, please do so now and hit the like button. Matt, what happens when people hit the like button on all of our videos?
Well, a couple things, Scott. Let me tell you. First of all, gives you a little heads up, a head nod. What up? We got some new content out on Pewter Report TV, whether it's these podcasts. We know you love these podcasts. Whether it's shorter clips of it, whether it's the press conferences that we've been going to every single day since training camp started. We put a bunch of that up on Pewter Report TV. It also helps with our algorithm.
Yep.
We love you, Pewter people. You know what's up with Pewter Report. But there are other football fans, Bucs fans that might not know about us. And by hitting the like button and subscribing, it helps spread the content of Pewter Report to other NFL fans and Bucs fans that might not know but need to know about Pewter Report. So by doing that, you're helping us out. So help us help you, and we'd really appreciate a like, thumbs up, and subscribe. It's absolutely free.
And in return, we're going to be giving you guys some free financial advice through our good friends at Immuni Financial.
At Amuni Financial, we help you live in the now.
Congratulations. We're so happy for you.
Thank you.
And even though the now may feel very different, you still need to plan for the future.
How's retirement treating you? Oh, just fantastic.
I know I say it all the time, but you really got to come up to Colorado.
Let's do it. All right. Yeah.
We can help you develop that plan to keep you on track, so you can still prepare for tomorrow, today. Amuni Financial. Plan ahead, stay ahead.
You heard the man. Plan ahead, stay ahead. And how do you do that? Well, you got to call Immuni Financial first, and then you need to talk to Mark, talk to David, somebody over there, and become a client of Immuni Financial. And the reason why you need to do that is, folks, I've done that myself. I'm not just a pitch man for Immuni Financial. The vast majority of my financial assets and retirement is with Immuni Financial. I trust them, and I believe you should too. They've got over 40 years of experience here in the Tampa Bay area, but they can also help you from across the country. Managing your family's wealth means more to Immuni Financial than simply allocating your assets. It means legacy planning, brokerage and advisory services, college savings accounts for the kids, and insurance services. There's so much more than just people that are going to help your 401k. They can help your entire financial portfolio. They've got 40 years of experience. Let Immuni Financial help you plan ahead and stay ahead. Give them a call at 1-800-868-6864 or find them on the web at immuni.com.
Ayo.
Love it. Hey, just a little housekeeping here, of course, as we wrap up this show. There will be no show tomorrow because the Bucs do not have training camp, but they do re-up again on Friday, so we will have a Friday show. Got to get down on Friday, as Rebecca Black once famously said in her song about over 10 years ago. Check out that song Friday by Rebecca Black if you haven't yet. We'll be back Friday, and then training camp will be going on over the weekend, but the podcast returns next week on Tuesday. It is a Mark Cook tribute show, of course. The man, the myth, the legend that is and was Mark Cook. And then we will go Wednesday and Thursday, joint practices, Bucs Dolphins. Very excited for that. And then we will have the first Pewter post-game show of the season where we analyze and recap the Buccaneers and Dolphins preseason game with all of that information.
All right, listen, Matt and Casey, we've talked about this before. I mean, this right here is the best episode we've ever done. I mean, if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, congratulations, you're part of history. This is the best Pewter Report podcast we've ever done. But you look at next week with that lineup on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then game day Saturday. I mean, I think we're just breaking records next week, folks. I think that we're actually going to be producing some of the best podcasts we've ever done next week. You got Mark Cook tribute. That's going to be full of laughs and maybe some tears, but more laughs than anything. The guy was an absolute legend. Loved working with them for over 10 years. He's my friend for well over 20. Then you got the Dolphins and Bucs. Those podcasts are going to be epic because we're going to be talking about the matchups and what happened. And then, of course, our first post-game podcast of the year. And we're trying to kill you guys. And the ones that are still alive, hit the subscribe and like button. Our game days were fun, yes. And we're going to be doing those again. We're going to be having Pewter game days with Matt Matera. And
that's me.
And also Paul Atwell. So that's going to be Yep. Exactly. What else do we have today, folks? Anything we need to do housekeeping wise?
We didn't really talk too much about offense outside of Trask. So there was a few questions about update on Robert Hainsey, how he looked today after a bit of a sloppy session.
You know what? I didn't notice Robert Hainsey today. I think it's a good thing.
That is
right?
a good thing.
I think that, seriously, is that not a good thing, right? When you don't notice the offensive line sometimes,
Yeah.
that's a guy. I think quietly, Robert Hainsey had a great bounce back day today.
Yeah. And then Cade Otton. I mean, I think we'd be remiss not to speak on Otton. The Twitter fans love him. They love asking how he's doing, how he's developing. We got to ask
what's his name?
Cade Otton.
Otton? Or is it Otton?
Otton.
Otton?
Olton.
Otton.
The reason I say that is like my daughter Ellie. She said she talks like you, Casey. It's like she'll say kitten and mitten rather than kitten and mitten.
Blame it on our lovely colleges. Our lingos go out the window once we go to college.
Yeah.
It should be getting better. No, I'm just gonna start numbering everybody and not even their jersey number.
You're gonna be talking like a coach. 88 looked good today out there catching the ball, right?
Yo, number 12. That guy, number 12, was sick.
Yeah.
Next pod.
Yeah.
Next pod.
And number 12 is pretty good. He's pretty good. Throw the ball around pretty good.
It pisses me off when they try to get fancy with their names, and it's just like, come on, guys.
Man, once 14 is back healthy, and once he can get going, he is the tempo of that offense. Number 14.
14's gonna light it up. But that 88, though, fans are loving 88, and I'm quite impressed with him. Not gonna lie.
Yeah,
footwork looks good. They all speak highly of him. They even mentioned that his blocking's pretty decent, and we've seen great routes out of him early on in camp. So I figured we would be remiss not to talk about somebody other than Trask on the offense.
All right. Okay. Real quick before we leave, anybody get the Grey Poupon reference here, or am I just dating myself because I'm old? Pardon me.
No.
Grey Poupon.
He said a certain way.
Does that ring a bell? You're too young, you kid.
Nah.
Yeah. Some of you old people in the chat and on the podcast I'm talking about. That was a classic commercial. Pardon me, do you have any Grey Poupon? It's mustard.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's like a
hybrid. Mustard. Wow. I didn't watch much TV as a kid, so no.
Okay. It's good. We were raised on TV in the 80s. That's just how it was.
Military Brad, I was a weirdo. And then people in the chat are already bringing up like the way that I eat wings and stuff. Yes, guys, I'm weird and I own it.
You eat wings with a fork?
We don't have to go back into this. Aren't we wrapping up?
We're already like over an hour into the show. But it was a great show.
It was. This was the best show we've ever done.
It really was.
Closeout music is playing. Can't you guys hear it?
Right. Yeah, they're trying to get us off the stage. So for Casey Hudson, for Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera saying thank you everyone for watching, and we will see you on Friday for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.
Willington Prevalon.
That's what I was waiting for. Willington Prevalon. On.